The information provided on this podcast is intended for general informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. While we discuss topics related to vegan health, diet, and fitness, always consult with a qualified healthcare provider or registered dietitian before making any changes to your diet, fitness routine, or lifestyle, especially if you have existing health conditions.
Welcome to Good Vegan Meal, the podcast for lifelong vegans, people wanting to become vegan, or those interested in vegan living. We're here to make your lives better by giving you the information you need to succeed in your compassionate vegan lifestyle.
Today, we're diving into something that's really on a lot of people's minds. How to truly thrive on a vegan diet. I mean, so many are drawn to plant-based eating for those amazing health benefits, right?
Absolutely. Lower risk of heart disease, diabetes, maybe even protection against some cancers. The list goes on.
But then that big question pops up, doesn't it? Are you actually getting everything your body needs to, really flourish? Not just survive, but thrive.
And that's exactly what this deep dive is about.
Yeah.
Think of it as your shortcut,
Yeah.
to getting properly informed. We've gone through, tons of expert sources.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking registered dietitians, major health organizations, research studies, even Q&As with medical doctors.
So a lot of material.
A lot. And the goal is to give you a really comprehensive but still concise understanding. Which nutrients do vegans really need to pay attention to?
And we're not just going to list them off. We'll dig into why they're vital, where you can reliably find them.
Right.
And maybe most importantly, when supplements aren't just like an optional extra, but actually a crucial part of the plan.
Exactly. Prepare for some moments, maybe some surprising facts along the way.
Okay, let's unpack this. So where do we start? What are the absolute non-negotiables according to the sources?
Right at the top of pretty much every list, vitamin B12. It's the big one.
The big one. Why so critical?
Well, it's fundamental for so many things. Healthy nerve cells, for one, making DNA, forming red blood cells.
Okay.
Plus, it really plays a key role in your energy levels, memory, even your mood. And look, if you're pregnant, it's incredibly important for the baby's development. Directly impacts their B12 stores.
And here's the kicker for vegans, right?
Yeah,
The challenge.
Yeah, the challenge is huge. B12 is found almost exclusively in animal products, full stop.
So all those claims about mushrooms or algae, not backed by solid science. No, not for reliable B12. Same for unwashed produce or, standard nutritional yeast, unless it's specifically fortified.
Okay.
And what's really striking, what the sources show, is that a deficiency can actually start to develop pretty quickly, maybe in as little as 2 years on a mostly plant-based diet, if you're not careful.
2 years? Wow, that's not long at all.
It really isn't. And the symptoms, if they show up, can be quite varied and pretty concerning.
Like what?
Things like fatigue, losing your appetite, maybe blurred vision, that numbness or tingling in your hands and feet.
Oh, okay.
Digestive issues, feeling lightheaded, weak, even depression, mood swings, memory loss. And long-term, it can get serious. Anemia, irreversible nerve damage, infertility, even bone and heart problems.
Okay, so it's definitely not something to ignore. What are the reliable solutions then? What do the experts say?
They're really clear on this. The only scientifically proven ways for vegans to get enough B12 are through fortified foods.
Like plant milks, cereals?
Yeah.
Exactly. Plant milks, soy products, breakfast cereals, fortified nutritional yeast, you have to check the label. Or, and this is often the most reliable way for consistent intake, through supplements.
Right, and what about dosage? How much do we need?
Adults generally need about 2.4 micrograms, that's mcg per day. A bit more if you're pregnant, around 2.6 milligrams, or breastfeeding, about 2.8 milligrams.
And for supplements?
For supplements, the advice is often a daily dose of 25 to 100 milligrams, or you could do a larger dose, like 1,000 milligrams, maybe twice a week.
Okay. Is there a specific type of B12 that's best?
The form called cyanocobalamin is generally considered the most well-studied and effective. It seems to be the one our bodies can use most readily from supplements.
Good to know. And what about absorbing it? Any tips there?
Yeah, absorption is interesting. B12 is actually best absorbed in small doses. And your body's ability to take it in can decrease as you get older, especially over 51. Plus, certain medications can impact it, like acid blockers or metformin for diabetes.
Yeah.
What's interesting from the studies is while vegans who supplement well, generally have good B12 levels, which is great.
Yeah.
It does also raise some questions about the potential risks of oversupplementing.
Right.
So, it's about finding that right balance. Not too little, not too much.
Okay, balance is key. Got it. So from the absolute must-have B12, let's shift to another really essential one, vitamin D. The sunshine vitamin, right?
That's the one.
Lots of people know it's important, whatever their diet, but are there specific things for vegans to think about?
Definitely. Vitamin D is absolutely crucial. Your body needs it to absorb calcium and phosphorus properly.
Which are key for bones and teeth.
Exactly. Fundamental for building and keeping strong bones and teeth.
Sure.
But it does more. It actively supports your immune system, has a big influence on mood and memory, and even helps with muscle recovery. Important for anyone active.
Okay. But the interesting thing here is that getting enough isn't just a vegan issue, is it?
No, not at all. Very few foods naturally have enough vitamin D. And even fortified foods often don't quite cut it on their own. Deficiency is actually pretty common across the board,
Yeah.
not just for plant-based eaters.
So sunshine is the other source, obviously.
Right. Your body can make vitamin D from sun exposure, often just like 10 to 15 minutes of midday sun on your face and arms without sunscreen might be enough for some people.
But there are catches.
Loads of catches. Your age, having darker skin where you live further from the equator means less intense sun.
Clouds, pollution.
All that limits production. And, of course, dermatologists rightly warn against relying only on sun exposure because of the skin cancer risks.
Right. So what about vegan food sources? Are there any?
They're pretty limited. Some mushrooms, if they've been exposed to UV light, and then fortified things, cereals, plant milks, some orange juices, you have to check labels again.
Which means, for a lot of people, supplementation is probably the way to go.
It's often the most practical and reliable approach, yeah. Vegan supplements come in two forms, D2 or D3. D3, which usually comes from algae, seems to be slightly more effective based on the research.
Okay. And I've heard liquid drops might be better.
Some find them easier, maybe better absorption for some individuals, potentially.
What's recommended amount? The RDA?
For vitamin D, it's 600 IU, that's international units, or 15 milligram for most kids and adults, goes up to 800 IU, or 20 milligrams for older adults, and during pregnancy or lactation. Though some evidence suggests our actual daily needs might even be higher than that.
So how do you know for sure?
A really practical tip from the sources. Think about getting your blood levels checked, maybe twice a year, once at the end of the summer, see where you are,
Right.
and then again in the spring, after the winter months. That gives you a really good idea of your personal needs so you can adjust your supplement dose if needed.
That's super practical advice. Okay, next non-negotiable. Long-chain omega-3s, EPA and DHA. These always come up for brain and heart health.
They're truly foundational, yeah. These essential fatty acids are critical for your eyes and brain to function properly, and especially important for a baby's brain development during pregnancy. Beyond that, research shows they can boost heart health, reduce joint pain from things like rheumatoid arthritis, help with symptoms of depression, and even lower the risk of age-related cognitive decline. It's a pretty powerful list.
That is a huge list of benefits. But here's the vegan challenge again, isn't it? The conversion issue.
That's the one that often catches people out. So plant foods do have an omega-3 called ALA, alpha-linolenic acid. You find it in flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, hemp seeds, soybeans.
Good stuff.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. But the problem is your body's ability to convert that ALA into the really beneficial long-chain forms, EPA and DHA, is, well, it's incredibly inefficient.
No, inefficient.
We're talking potentially as low as 0.5% conversion for DHA. So even if you're eating loads of flax, it doesn't guarantee optimal EPA and DHA levels. And studies consistently back this up. Vegans tend to have significantly lower levels of EPA and DHA compared to omnivores.
So this is where supplements become pretty much essential again.
For most vegans wanting optimal levels, yes. Vegan omega-3 supplements sourced directly from algae oil are the key. They contain both EPA and DHA.
And they have an advantage over fish oil, right?
A big one. They're far less likely to contain heavy metals, which can definitely be a concern with some fish oils.
Okay, good point. So if someone's looking to supplement, what kind of dose should they aim for?
The recommendations generally hover around 250 to 500 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA per day for adults.
And for pregnant women?
A bit higher, usually around 375 milligrams per day is advised.
Okay. And besides supplements, are there any other dietary tricks to help maximize levels?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. It can help to minimize your intake of omega-6 fatty acids.
From which oils?
Things like corn oil, safflower, sunflower, sesame oil. Reducing those while making sure you get enough of those ALA-rich foods like flax and chia can help create a better balance. It sort of nudges the conversion process along a bit more favorably.
Got it. Minimize omega-6, maximize ALA, and supplement EPA-DOJ.
Okay, final non-negotiable for this section, iodine, the thyroid regulator. You said this one kind of flies under the radar,
It really seems to, but it's vital for a super important gland, your thyroid.
which controls metabolism.
Exactly. Metabolism, muscle growth, overall energy. Plus, and this often gets missed, iodine is critical during pregnancy and infancy for the baby's brain and motor development. Really crucial.
And the vegan challenge here. Is it availability?
It's more about consistency and reliability. Some plant foods do contain iodine, but the amount varies hugely depending on the soil they grew in.
Right.
Seaweed can be a source, sure, but the iodine content in seaweed is all over the place. Sometimes it's way too high, exceeding safe limits, which can cause its own problems.
So too much can be bad too. Definitely. And then there's iodized salt. That provides consistent levels, yeah. But you'd need about half a teaspoon a day just to meet the RDA for iodine. And that much salt can easily push your sodium intake way too high.
Okay, tricky. So vegans are considered at higher risk.
The sources confirm that, yes. Higher risk of iodine deficiency,
And what does low iodine look like? What are the symptoms?
often related to hypothyroidism and underactive thyroid. So things like feeling constantly low on energy, dry skin, maybe thinning hair, that tingling in hands and feet again, forgetfulness, depression, unexpected weight gain. And in severe cases, it can lead to a goiter, which is that visible swelling of the thyroid gland in the neck.
Okay. So practical solutions, what can people do?
Well, consider an iodine supplement. Liquid drops are often a really cheap and easy way to get a consistent dose.
Right.
Also, proactively look for plant milks that are fortified with iodine. That can make a big difference in bridging the gap.
And the dosage we're aiming for.
The RDA for adults is 150 milliliters per day. It goes up during pregnancy to 220 milligrams and while breastfeeding to 290 milligrams.
Okay. And you mentioned something about doctors maybe not catching this.
Yeah, this was a key insight from the research. There seems to be a widespread lack of awareness about iodine deficiency risk, even among some health professionals. And your standard thyroid test, the TSH test,
Yeah.
it often won't flag an iodine issue until it's already quite advanced. So relying just on that test might not be enough. Supplementation becomes a really practical safety net for many vegans.
Okay. That covers the non-negotiables. B12, D, omega-3s, iodine. Really crucial stuff. Now, let's move into nutrients that maybe can be managed through diet but still need close monitoring. Starting with iron, essential for energy, blood health.
Absolutely. Iron's fundamental. Makes red blood cells, transports oxygen everywhere, crucial for energy metabolism, even brain development.
But the vegan challenge is absorption, right? Non-heme versus heme iron.
Exactly. The iron in plants, non-heme iron, is just inherently harder for our bodies to absorb compared to the heme iron from animal sources.
So vegans need more.
Because of that lower absorption.
Yeah.
Yeah, the recommendation is often to aim for about 1.8 times the normal RDA.
Wow. Almost double.
Pretty much. And certain groups need to be especially careful. Pregnant women, menstruating women, babies, young kids, people who donate blood often, or anyone with gut disorders affecting absorption.
And the signs of low iron. What should people look out for?
It's often that persistent fatigue, feeling weak, cold hands and feet, lightheadedness, maybe dizziness, chest pain, shortness of breath, sometimes thin or brittle nails, and occasionally those weird cravings for non-food things like ice or dirt. It's called pica.
Okay. So where do we find good plant sources?
Loads of great options. Cruciferous veggies like broccoli and kale, beans, peas, lentils, dried fruit, nuts, seeds, fortified cereals, whole grains. They all contribute.
And are there ways to boost that non-NUV absorption?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
This is key. Always try to combine your iron-rich plant foods with foods high in vitamin C. Exactly.
Yep.
Squeeze lemon juice on your spinach salad. Have bell peppers with your bean chili. Maybe some berries with your oatmeal. Vitamin C significantly boosts absorption.
Nice trick. Any others?
Cooking in cast iron pans can actually transfer some iron to your food, surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah. And another tip. Try to avoid drinking tea or coffee right with your iron-rich meals. The tannins in them can interfere with absorption. Wait an hour or so.
Good to know. Now, what about iron supplements? You mentioned caution earlier.
Huge caution here. While getting enough iron is vital, too much can be seriously harmful. It can damage cells, block the absorption of other minerals,
Okay.
and in extreme cases, very high levels can lead to organ failure, convulsions, coma, even death. It's not something to mess around with.
So the takeaway is,
Only supplement if you really need it.
yeah.
And always confirm low levels first with a proper blood test, one that checks both hemoglobin and ferritin levels. Don't just guess.
Right. And what are the actual RDAs for iron?
For adult men and postmenopausal women, it's 8 milligrams per day. For menstruating women, it jumps to 18 milligrams. And during pregnancy, it's 27 milligrams.
And the upper limit.
Healthy kids and adults generally shouldn't go over 40-45 milligrams of iron per day without specific medical advice.
Okay, iron covered. Let's talk calcium. Beyond dairy, how do vegans ensure strong bones?
Calcium is essential, no doubt. Builds and maintains strong teeth and bones. But it's also crucial for muscles to work properly, for nerves to send signals, and for heart health, too.
And the critical point for vegans, based on the research.
Studies consistently show vegans often consume significantly less calcium than non-vegans. And this isn't just theoretical. The data indicates that vegans getting less than 525 milligrams per day consistently have a higher risk of bone fractures.
So that old idea that vegans need less calcium because their diet is less acidic.
That theory hasn't really held up scientifically. The fracture data suggests that the need is real.
Okay, so where can vegans get it?
Fortunately, there are many excellent plant sources. Think dark leafy greens like bok choy, kale, mustard greens, turnip greens, also broccoli, chickpeas, watercress. Calcium-set tofu is a great one. Sesame seeds, especially tahini, almonds, and then there are all the fortified foods.
Plant milks again?
Loads of fortified plant milks, vegan yogurts, orange juices, even some breads now. These make it much easier to hit the target.
And what is that target? The RDA?
For most adults, it's 1,000 milligrams per day. That increases to 1,200 milligrams for women over 50 and also during pregnancy and nursing.
So combining food and fortified products is usually the best strategy.
Well, it's usually enough, yeah. But if you find you're consistently falling short just through diet, a supplement could definitely be beneficial.
Any tips on choosing a calcium supplement if needed?
Yeah, a quick one. Calcium carbonate is common, but it can sometimes cause gas, bloating, or constipation, especially if you have lower stomach acid. If that happens, calcium citrate might be a better tolerated, more easily digestible option for you.
Good tip. Okay, next up, zinc. Important for immunity, cell health.
Absolutely. Zinc is involved in so much. Your metabolism, keeping your immune system strong, repairing cells, growth, healing wounds, even blood clotting.
And the vegan challenge, is it absorption again?
It is, partly. Many plant foods do contain zinc, but its absorption can be limited by compounds called phytates. They can bind to minerals like zinc.
So like iron, vegans might need more.
Yeah, similar idea. Vegans are often encouraged to aim for about 1.5 times the RDA for zinc. And some studies do show vegans can have slightly lower zinc intakes and blood levels compared to omnivores.
What are the signs of low zinc?
It can manifest as slow growth, especially in kids, impaired immune function, getting sick more often, maybe skin lesions, issues like impotence, hair loss, diarrhea, or wounds healing slowly.
Okay, plant sources.
Plenty of them. Beans, lentils, whole grains, nuts, seeds. Pumpkin seeds are great mushrooms, kale, asparagus.
And if phytates are an issue, can we improve absorption?
Definitely. Just like with iron, preparation methods help. Soaking beans and grains, cooking them thoroughly, or fermenting them.
Like sourdough bread.
Exactly. Sourdough, tempeh, natto, miso.
Yeah.
These traditional ways of preparing foods significantly reduce the phytate content and make the zinc more available.
Smart. Dosage and supplements.
The RDA is 11 milligrams per day for adult men, 8 milligrams for adult women. It increases slightly for pregnancy to 11 milligrams and lactation to 12 milligrams. Getting a variety of zinc-rich foods daily is the first step. But if you struggle to hit those targets consistently, a daily supplement providing maybe 50–100% of the RDA could be beneficial. Look for well-absorbed forms like zinc, gluconate, citrate, or picolinate.
Okay, zinc covered. Let's turn to folate vitamin B9, known as a pregnancy powerhouse.
It really is. Folate plays such a crucial role in preventing certain birth defects, which is why it gets so much attention during pregnancy. But it's essential for everyone, really, for making protein and DNA fundamental cell stuff.
But here's an interesting twist, right? Vegans usually do well with folate.
That's a surprising thing. Vegans actually tend to have a higher intake of folate naturally from their diet compared to non-vegans. The risk of deficiency just from food is very low.
Okay, so not usually a problem nutrient. But if levels were low, what would symptoms look like?
You might see fatigue, weakness, irritability, headaches, trouble concentrating, maybe heart palpitations, shortness of breath, sores in the mouth or on the tongue, or changes in skin, hair, or nail color.
And plant sources are abundant.
Absolutely abundant. Leafy greens are packed with it. Spinach, romaine, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, avocado, broccoli, green peas, beans, lentils, rice, peanuts, oranges, bananas. The list goes on.
Wow.
And folic acid, the synthetic form, is added to white flour in many countries too.
What's the RDA?
It's 400 milligrams per day for adult men and women. Goes up to 600 milligrams during pregnancy and 500 milligrams while nursing. Interestingly, you actually need less from supplements because folic acid is absorbed more easily than food folate.
So supplementation advice, necessary for vegans.
Generally, most vegans probably don't need a separate folate supplement from their diet alone.
Yeah.
However, the strong recommendation for all women planning pregnancy, or who are pregnant vegan or not, is to take a folic acid supplement, usually around 300, 400 milligrams daily, starting before conception and continuing through early pregnancy.
Okay.
But a word of caution, more isn't always better. Oversupplementing with folic acid specifically might potentially have downsides, like possibly affecting immunity or brain development. So stick to the recommended doses.
Got it. Important distinction. Okay, next. Selenium, the antioxidant mineral. Sounds important.
It is. Selenium acts as a powerful antioxidant, protecting your body's cells from damage. It's also vital for a healthy thyroid gland and metabolism, plus DNA production, reproduction, and fighting off infections.
And the vegan consideration, do vegans get enough?
They tend to get less than non-vegans, yeah. But the good news is it's actually not that difficult to get enough if you know the secret weapon.
Which is?
Brazil nuts. They are by far the richest natural vegan source.
How many?
Just 1 or 2 Brazil nuts per day can totally meet your daily selenium needs.
Wow, that's easy.
Super easy, but be really careful not to overdo it. Eating more than, say, 6 Brazil nuts a day could easily push you over the safe upper limit for selenium, which can be toxic.
Okay, moderation is key there. Other sources besides Brazil nuts.
Yeah, things like oats, mushrooms, spinach, beans, sunflower seeds also contribute, just in smaller amounts.
And the RDA?
55 milligrams per day for adult men and women, increases slightly to 60 milligrams for pregnancy and 70 milligrams for breastfeeding.
So supplements needed.
Most vegans can probably meet their needs from diet alone, especially if they incorporate those 1 or 2 Brazil nuts. If you have a nut allergy, though, or really struggle with other sources, a supplement might be considered, but again, be super cautious about the dose to avoid toxicity.
Okay, Brazil nuts for the win. Carefully. Now, vitamin K. We hear about it for blood clotting.
That's its main job, yeah.
Yeah.
Assisting with blood clotting, protecting against excessive bleeding, but it also plays a role in bone health.
And there are 2 types, K1 and K2.
Exactly. Vitamin K1, phylloquinone, is the one abundant in leafy green vegetables and plant oils. Think kale, spinach, broccoli. Vitamin K2, menaquinone, is found more in animal products and fermented foods.
So K2 is the potential vegan challenge.
Sort of, but it's not usually a major concern. See, K2 isn't technically considered an essential vitamin because your body can actually convert some K1 into K2. Plus, your gut bacteria can make some K2 as well.
Ah, okay.
So while there aren't as many direct vegan food sources rich in K2, studies haven't really shown that vegans who don't supplement K2 have a higher risk of health problems related to it, like fractures or heart issues.
So not high on the worry list.
Generally not for most vegans, no. Low levels would show up as excessive bleeding, easy bruising, maybe tiny blood clots under fingernails, or dark bloody stool.
Got it. Plant sources again.
For K1, it's those leafy green powerhouses. Kale, spinach, collard greens, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, get plenty of those. For K2, some fermented foods can contribute, like natto, fermented soybeans, maybe some vegan sauerkraut or kimchi, but amounts vary.
And the dosage recommendation.
It's about 90 milligrams for women, 120 milligrams for men per day. This is adequate intake, AI, not RDA.
So the takeaway is,
Focus on getting plenty of K1 from leafy greens. Maybe include some K2-rich fermented foods if you like them.
Yeah.
But based on current research, specific K2 supplementation isn't generally deemed necessary for most vegans.
okay. Let's quickly touch on magnesium, the restful mineral.
Yeah, it gets called that because it helps regulate melatonin levels, supporting sleep. It also helps with muscle recovery after exercise, boosts energy, and maintains heart health. Lots of benefits.
And the vegan angle.
Magnesium is definitely available in vegan foods. Nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains are good sources. But supplementation might be particularly important for certain groups, like pregnant individuals, older adults, or people with specific health conditions that affect absorption or increased needs.
What are signs of low magnesium?
Difficulty sleeping is a big one. Also persistent fatigue, maybe muscle cramps or twitches, and heart palpitations.
And dosage.
General guidelines are around 300 milligrams per day for men, 270 milligrams for women, ages 1964 in the UK, for example, though RDAs vary slightly by country.
And supplements come in different forms?
Yeah, you can get oral supplements, but topical magnesium like oils or lotions applied to the skin is also an option some people find helpful.
Interesting. And just quickly, were there any other sort of supportive supplements mentioned in the sources beyond these core nutrients?
Yeah, a couple came up. One was 5-HTP 5-hydroxytryptophan. It's a precursor to serotonin.
Right.
And it's often marketed as something to take before bed to help with relaxation and getting ready for sleep.
Okay. And the other?
Turmeric, or more specifically, its active compound, curcumin, known for its anti-inflammatory properties. It's available as a nutritional supplement, sometimes even in convenient oral spray forms.
Got it. Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground on the nutrients themselves. Now let's tackle some of those common questions and myths that always seem to pop up around vegan diets. A huge one. Can you really survive and actually thrive on a vegan diet without any supplements?
Okay, the short answer is, it's possible. You could theoretically get all nutrients from a really well-planned whole food vegan diet that consistently includes specific fortified foods, especially for D and B12.
But there's a but.
There's a big but. It requires a lot of nutritional knowledge, really meticulous planning day in and day out, and extremely high consistency with your diet.
Mm-hmm.
It gets even trickier during times when your nutrient needs are higher, like pregnancy or breastfeeding. Plus, things like how you cook your food, your individual genetics, even the specific bacteria living in your gut, they can all impact how well you absorb nutrients.
So possible, but difficult and maybe not reliable for everyone.
Exactly. While it's theoretically possible, it's not necessarily easy or consistently achievable for many people without the safety net of certain supplements.
Which leads perfectly to the next question. Is just taking a standard multivitamin enough for a vegan? Does that cover all the bases?
Often, the answer is no, unfortunately. Multivitamins aren't strictly regulated in the same way, meaning the types and amounts of nutrients can vary wildly between brands. Sometimes they might even contain levels that exceed safe daily limits.
Okay.
Plus, some vitamins and minerals actually compete with each other for absorption when they're all crammed into one pill. So taking them together might make them less effective.
Right.
And critically, for vegans, many general multivitamins just don't have enough B12. They might only contain the basic RDA of 2.4 milligrams, when, as we discussed, vegans often need a higher supplemental dose, like 100 milligram daily, for reliable intake.
So a multi is rarely the complete solution.
Rarely a simple one-stop shop, no.
Okay, let's bust some myths. What about fats and oils? There's this idea floating around that you need to eat oils for healthy cell walls.
True. That's a common misconception, yeah. Firstly, we have cell membranes, not walls like plants do. And our liver actually makes all the cholesterol our cell membranes need tiny amounts.
Mhm.
Now, there are two essential fatty acids we need from our diet, ALA, omega-3, and linoleic acid, omega-6. But you absolutely do not need lots of greasy, oily foods to get them.
Where do we get them then?
Green vegetables, beans, chia seeds, flax seeds, they provide these naturally in healthy forms and amounts.
And what about other fats, like animal fats or certain plant oils?
Well, many animal fats in meat, dairy, eggs tend to be high in saturated fat and cholesterol, which we know isn't great for heart health long term.
Right.
And importantly, some popular plant oils, namely palm oil and coconut oil, are also very high in saturated fat and are best avoided or used very sparingly.
So keeping added oils low is generally a good idea.
Definitely. Keeping added oils really low can make a big difference for blood pressure and weight management. Remember, fats pack a punch calorically, 9 calories per gram compared to just 4 for carbs or protein. It adds up fast.
Speaking of carbs, another big area of confusion, carbohydrates and weight loss. Are carbs inherently fattening?
This is such a persistent myth. Healthy carbohydrates, think whole foods like rice, beans, potatoes, sweet potatoes, whole grains, with their fiber intact, are not inherently fattening.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the sources pointed to places like Japan in the 60s and 70s, where a high-carb, rice-based diet was linked to some of the healthiest, longest-lived, and leanest populations globally.
So where does the bad rap come from?
It comes from the refined stuff, overly processed grains, white flour, sugary drinks, lots of added sugar. Those simple, rapidly absorbed sugars can cause problems. Your body can convert that excess quick energy into triglycerides, which is a type of fat. So it's really about the quality of the carbohydrate, not carbs themselves.
Got it. Quality over quantity and whole over refined. Okay, a specific food concern. Arsenic in brown rice. Should people worry about this?
Okay, so trace amounts of arsenic can be found in rice, it's true. And it tends to concentrate a bit more in the bran layer, which is why brown rice can have slightly higher levels than white rice.
But is it a health risk?
Here's the key. Major, large-scale studies have looked at this extensively and have found no significant association between overall rice consumption and cancer risk.
Okay, reassuring.
If you are still concerned, though, you can choose white rice varieties like basmati or jasmine, especially those grown in the Himalayan region, which tend to have lower levels. And another tip is to reduce arsenic further by rinsing the rice well, soaking it, and then cooking it with extra water like you'd cook pasta, and draining that excess water off afterwards.
Good tips. Now, what about cholesterol? I've heard vegans sometimes get told their cholesterol is too low. Can that actually happen? Is low cholesterol bad?
This is a fantastic point. It's a real aha moment from the sources. If your blood test comes back showing what the lab report calls low total cholesterol, say 400 or 110 milli-GDL by U.S. standards, that is actually a perfectly healthy, even optimal level.
So the normal range isn't necessarily healthy?
Exactly. Those normal ranges on lab reports often just reflect the average levels in a generally unhealthy population, not what's truly optimal for preventing heart disease. Extremely low cholesterol is only ever a concern in very, very rare cases of severe illness, like advanced liver failure. So for a healthy vegan, a low number is usually a sign they're doing something right.
That's a huge clarification. Okay, sodium on a plant-based diet. If you cut out processed foods, is it hard to get enough sodium?
It's a valid question because natural plant foods are very low in sodium. And your body does need some sodium for nerve transmission and other functions.
Right.
But honestly, it's actually pretty easy to get the recommended amount, around 1,500 milligrams per day, even with very minimal added salt in cooking. Some vegetables contain a bit naturally, too. The reality is most people in Western countries consume far more sodium than they need. So deficiency is rarely, if ever, a concern for vegans eating whole foods.
Good to know. And related to sodium, what about lowering blood pressure? Are there other strategies beyond just cutting salt that work well on a plant-based diet?
Absolutely. Beyond sodium, another powerful way to lower blood pressure is by reducing blood viscosity, basically, how thick or sticky your blood is.
How does diet affect that?
Fatty meals, especially meals high in saturated fat, literally make your blood thicker and sludgier for a few hours after eating. This makes it harder for your heart to pump it around. So a whole food, plant-based diet, rich in grains, beans, vegetables, fruits, and crucially, very low in added oils, especially avoiding coconut and palm oil, naturally leads to less viscous blood. It flows more easily.
Makes sense.
And don't forget exercise. Regular physical activity is also a fantastic, often underestimated tool for lowering blood pressure.
Right. Okay, quick myth bust. Lectins in beans. Big scary word sometimes. Should we avoid beans because of lectins?
No, definitely not. Lectins are natural compounds found in beans and many other plants. Yes, in their raw state, they can be problematic. But the key thing is, they are largely neutralized by proper cooking. Soaking and thoroughly cooking beans gets rid of almost all the active lectins. They are absolutely not a reason to avoid incredibly healthy, fiber-rich, protein-packed foods like beans and lentils. The concern around them is often massively overhyped.
Okay, good to hear. Moving to skin health. Hormonal acne and plant-based diet. Can diet actually help here?
The sources suggest it really can be wonderfully supportive. First off, topical treatments like antibiotic creams are generally safe for hormonal acne and don't mess with your gut flora like oral antibiotics can.
Okay.
But from a dietary perspective, adopting a plant-based diet that's very low in oil can be a fantastic approach. It may help to gently rebalance hormones and significantly improve skin health. There are many personal stories and some research indicating dramatic improvements with this dietary pattern.
Interesting. And for people managing chronic conditions, type 2 diabetes and chronic kidney disease, CKD, how does a plant-based diet help there?
It's shown to be highly beneficial, according to the experts we reviewed. A whole food, plant-based diet, meaning no animal products, and keeping oils very low, works in a couple of ways.
How so?
Reducing dietary fat helps clear out the fat that can build up inside muscle and liver cells. When those cells are less clogged with fat, they become more sensitive to insulin and can take up sugar from the blood more effectively. This directly helps lower blood sugar levels in type 2 diabetes.
And for the kidneys.
Avoiding animal protein is a big plus for kidney health. Animal protein can be quite harsh on the kidneys, putting extra strain on them. Plus, the high blood pressure and diabetes that often go hand in hand with diets high in animal products are themselves major risk factors for kidney disease. So going plant-based tackles it from multiple angles.
Makes sense. And one final, very specific application. Low-fat diet for menstrual cramps endometriosis. Can diet really impact that?
Yes. This is an area where dietary changes can be surprisingly powerful for many women. A low-fat, whole food, plant-based diet can gently help to lower circulating estrogen levels.
And lower estrogen helps with pain.
For many women, yes. Lower estrogen levels can significantly reduce the severity of menstrual cramps or endometriosis-related pain.
So what does low fat mean in practice here?
The recommendation is often to aim for a diet that's around 8–10% fat by calories. This generally means eliminating all animal products and keeping all added oils, including things like nuts, seeds, and avocado, initially to an absolute minimum.
Okay.
The advice is usually to try this strict approach for at least 2 full menstrual cycles to really see if it makes a difference for your symptoms.
Fascinating connection. Wow. Okay, what an incredible deep dive. We've covered so much ground on navigating a truly thriving vegan diet. So just to recap, a well-planned vegan diet can be incredibly healthy, nutritionally adequate for all stages of life.
Absolutely. The potential health benefits are huge. However, as we've discussed, it's really clear that certain nutrients are genuinely difficult to get reliably in sufficient amounts just from whole plant foods and fortified items alone.
Right. The non-negotiables we started with.
Exactly. Vitamin B12, vitamin D, and those long-chain omega-3s, EPA and DHA. For most vegans, supplements for these 3 are almost universally recommended. They're pretty much non-negotiable if you want consistent, optimal health without constant worry.
And then others, like iron, calcium, zinc, iodine, they need attention. Maybe supplements, depending on the individual.
Precisely. Those require more specific attention to your dietary choices, how you prepare foods, and maybe potential supplementation depending on your individual needs, your life stage, and maybe even blood test results.
So the goal here really isn't just about avoiding outright deficiencies, is it? It's more empowering than that.
Completely. It's about empowering you with the knowledge to truly thrive, to feel your absolute best, and unlock the full health potential that a plant-based lifestyle offers.
By being mindful, understanding these nuances, and making informed choices.
That's the key. Informed choices based on solid evidence.
Okay, so here's a final provocative thought for everyone listening to take away. Really consider the profound interconnectedness of your food choices. Every well-informed decision you make about what goes on your plate doesn't just nourish your own body deeply and safeguard your well-being. It also creates this amazing ripple effect, doesn't it? Contributing towards a healthier planet and, for many, a more compassionate world. So the question to ponder is, what aspect of this deep dive, what piece of information will you explore further in your own personal journey to well-being?
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Good Vegan Meal. If you loved what you heard and you're hungry for more, head over to our link tree at linktr.ee/goodveganmeal. There you can grab our free PDF 30 high-protein vegan 5-minute meals packed with quick recipes and full nutritional stats for every meal. Perfect for busy days and plant-powered gains. And if you're ready to take your vegan cooking game to the next level, check out our cookbook's 125-minute vegan meals for kids' lunches, a school lunchbox lifesaver, 185-minute vegan meals, and 7 weeks of high-protein meals with meal planning made simple with grocery lists for each week. Grab your goodies at linktr.ee/goodveganmeal, and we'll see you in the next episode.